So we have the videos where we asked actors to tell us why Shakespeare is more relevant now, or how do they identify with Romeo and Juliet, right? So that's that aspect. That's the Shakespeare aspect of episode 4. What we also asked is, we're using Romeo and Juliet being star-crossed lovers in a way that, how do outside factors affect relationships, especially like in keeping them separated, right? And so the community, we had about 3 or 4 videos of people sent in where they talk about how their relationships were affected by the quarantine, or how they're treating themselves and things like that. So that's the love, the Shakespeare and love. That's the love aspect where we're comparing their stories to R&J, Romeo and Juliet's sort of dilemma of being torn apart by outside factors. My question is, how do we tie those two things together?
He was born sometime in April 1564. The parish register records the baptismal date, the 6th of April, but the birth date is not known, nor is there any further record concerning William Shakespeare until fully 18 years later.
Shakespeare wrote for the people, and I think that's still true now, even like hundreds of years later.
For the sons of substantial Stratford men, there was the free grammar school, but the lessons were mostly Latin and dull, the discipline severe.
Young Master Shakespeare, tardy once again, I see.
But for schoolboys away from their books, there were summer days and the river Avon.
There is a willow grows aslant a brook that shows his hoar leaves in the glassy stream.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Timeless tales of falling in love and doing anything when you're sort of head over heels for someone. And that are feelings that I think we very much so still feel today. And this is sort of like, it's okay to feel those things. But, you also have to be careful. It's a beautiful tale, but it also, ends, it's a tragedy. So,
on the 28th of November, 1582, 2 Warwickshire farmers posted a bond of £40 at the consistory court in Worcester. Sealed and signed, this bond guaranteed that Will Shakespeare, then 18, should marry no one but
Anne Hathaway of Stratford in the Diocese of Worcester.
I have a little bit of a quarantine romance thing going on. I mean, I feel confident saying that just because I don't think this person would ever watch this. But yeah, it's been really nice. I think quarantine weirdly has allowed us to become closer. We've been having long phone calls, video chats. We've been playing each other on this game app that's like Uno, and that's really fun. We'll like call each other to play and trash talk each other. I'm competitive, so. But yeah, I would say I do identify with Romeo.
My quarantine story. First of all, I think it's hard. I think it's hard to get to so many agreements. I think it's hard to be with someone 24/7. And by agreements, for example, I mean, the house is dirty again. We ran out of food again. So what are we going to do? Like, who's going to do what and why? And then we both still have a job. So then how do we fit these extra activities on our schedule? Or should we order food? But then I guess right now we're more confident in doing so. But like at the beginning, we were even like, should we even have any contact with the outside world? And then all these agreements don't come without arguments, right?
But as for the young man himself, was he apprenticed to his father's trade? Was he writing at this time? We do not know. These are the hidden years.
I'm very self-aware and constantly trying to figure out how I can improve certain aspects of my personality. And being stuck in quarantine has more or less forced me to do this because I have no option but to sit with my thoughts. But I'm okay with that. I've been able to do a lot of much needed self-reflection to improve my relationship with myself, because learning to love yourself is hard. I would say that on a good day, I like myself a lot, but there are days where I don't want to look at myself. And although there's plenty of myself that I don't like, I'm taking the time I have during quarantine to get to the root of my insecurities and extract them so that I can overcome them. And it's been difficult, a little frustrating, but I know it'll be worth it in the end, and it's definitely one of the more positive things to come out of quarantine.
Yo les voy a contar a ustedes mi historia de amor. Similar a Julieta, yo he pasado mucho tiempo en mi balcón. Cuando yo estoy afuera, al mediodía, yo cierro los ojos y me imagino que los ruidos de los carros que pasan, son las olas del mar. Y cuando yo siento el sol calentándome la piel y escucho el ruido de la brisa moviendo los árboles, es fácil imaginarse que uno está solo en una playa con el olor de la sal concentrada en el aire. Cuando yo estoy en mi balcón, en este estado, yo me transporto a una isla sola con mis pensamientos.
The early years are lost to us, but we know that by the winter of 1596, William Shakespeare had become the wonder of the Elizabethan stage.
I love Shakespeare. It's awesome. I think there's something very universal in his works, because, you know, they wouldn't have lasted this long otherwise. There's so much in them that I think doesn't really change for us as humans. And, you know, it's the language is just so beautifully dense. You can keep going back to a Shakespeare play and discovering things you had no idea were there the first time. It's like an adventure every time. I really love that.
I feel like he did psychology work besides all his writing. Like, his writings are psychology in a sense. Like, he dissects the human condition so beautifully. So I think it's something that we definitely have to keep studying and keep around. And it's just gorgeous to the tongue, to read it, to say it. Once you understand it, because, you know, English has changed so much, so once you actually can dissect the language, it's just truly a beautiful piece.
His only son, Hamlet, died at the age of 11.
So we were in New York when all of this happened. I work at a private special ed school, and work shut down for me on March 10th. And at that time, that was the day before Broadway and Disneyland shut down. At that time, there were already people in masks and gloves, and these like scary kind of apocalyptic voiceovers on this subway platform saying, like, you know, to prevent the spread of respiratory diseases, blah, blah, blah. So we were actually only in my tiny apartment in Queens for 1 week. But it felt like the longest week of my life, of just like so much anxiety and fear and sadness and confusion.
Hopeless and longing. I think we all feel like a sense of longing right now. We miss people, feel like everyone is so far away, and just want to give some hugs.
In October of 1597, a deed recorded the purchase of New Place, largest and finest house in Stratford. His playwriting and acting, particularly his acting, were bringing him considerable wealth.
As actors, our job is to tell a story even if the words are not familiar to the audience, and you can use your emotion, your intention, your physicality to communicate the message. Which is one of the cool things about Shakespeare, is you can take it and you can put it in a new context, and with your directing or your acting, you can still convey the story, which is why it's such a great medium, I think, for doing a bilingual show, because by necessity, you're already having to tell the story so heavily through your action and your intention.
Whatever his merits as an actor, he was certainly the company's leading dramatist. Hamlet, Othello, Lear, Macbeth. the greatest monuments of human misery and despair in the literature of the world.
I think Shakespeare is still relevant simply because his stories are timeless. Even if they take place hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you can put it in any time period and it will still be relevant to people, and people will still understand the concepts. Romeo and Juliet, one of the biggest themes is forbidden love and people that can't be together, and I think that is a perfectly relevant topic these days, whether it's people not being able to be together because they're different races or different religions, or gay people, people that don't believe in gay marriage, and that in and of itself is forbidden for some people, having to not being able to express their love for someone else of the same sex because their parents don't agree or because society doesn't agree. So for me, that's especially why Romeo and Juliet and why Shakespeare is still relevant, is because people connect to these ideas and the text, and it's relevant and it's important.
For more than 20 years, his working day world was that of the theatre.
I think Shakespeare's incredibly relevant. He wrote through the Black Plague, which lasted, I think, about 6 years, and the theater resurged after that. So I find that there's a lot of hope. Shakespeare has a way of activating our imagination that accepts the reality and the gravity of the dark times while still giving us hope for life in the future.
On the 25th of March, 1616, he executed his will. After providing for his family, he remembered his fellow actors in London. Rings to remember Will Shakespeare by.
But also, obviously, we have, and this is not, I don't know the right words to use here, but obviously there's a lot of hatred in the world right now. Obviously racism, and I don't think we're necessarily touch racism in this scene, but what we are going to touch is love. And I think at the end of this month, when we finally put this on it, when we finally do this at the end of June, that America is still going to need love. And if there's anything we need more of right now is love, sweet love. And my hope for both Elissa and Matthew is that you are able to not forget that theater, even Zoom theater. We don't necessarily know, though obviously there's a possibility of even grasping a larger audience than we could have before, but that people may be coming to this as a way to either escape or remind themselves of youth, or remind themselves of what love looks like. I mean, really, Romeo is in the final production of this. Romeo will be Cuban and Juliet will be American, and so there's going to eventually be a country divide, a language divide. And now we have this COVID-19 divide in a way. So as we continue to go forward with this, and as the world continues to revolve, and who knows what's going to happen in the weeks to come, let's not forget the power of words. So at the very end of this, both of you are dead. But it's through your death, peace finally comes to Verona. And maybe through this scene, maybe it's just to one person that watches this, a sense of peace can come to them. So yeah, that's my directorial spiel. Do you all want to see a Shakespearean dog?
Oh my God, dude.
It's kind of the best. He has a little feather.
The hair is what gets me. The hair really
Yeah, the hair is just really what makes it.